All right, let's settle down, ladies and gentlemen. We got a young lady who's a regional vice president heading north of Sacramento, California. She's always got a great disposition, a great context for us to go through. We all love her, and we all see her at the conventions. We all see her at Lake Tahoe. But today, she's with us live today, and I'm so happy to have her on the call today. Without further ado, can we give a warm welcome to Regional Vice President, Miss Keri Roeder?
Good morning, Mr. Thomas. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Super excited to continue our conversation about the power of events, and Kush right there, I'm telling you, getting 3 people signed up to come with us in 6 months. I know, so far away, crazy. That's what it's about. And that's what this month's conversation about, is the power of events. And so congratulations and welcome to all the people who are new. Excited to have you here. And I watched last week's video. I droned on and on about how incredible Mr. Thomas is, and it's all still true. So for those of you who are new, I want you to listen to watch last week's video, because I describe just how powerful and impactful our Senior Vice President, Mr. Al Thomas, is. And so I want you to know that you are in the right place at the right time, working with the right group of people, and being led by one of the most successful people, not just in ACM, but actually in direct sales and multi-level marketing globally. So make sure that you heed his advice and just follow the guidance he gives, because he teaches all of us how to be successful. And I just want to thank you, Mr. Thomas, for always inviting me on to be a part of these conversations. It's just such an honor and a privilege. So I know I ended last week with telling you I'm going to give you my story about what happened at my first international, but I realized there's a little bit more to tell you before I tell you the story. So I'm going to tell you that story to end our month together in September, next Monday. But I want to continue the conversation about the power of events. And I want to talk with you all about what are events, because it dawned on me, I've only been talking about our Elevate events, our national events, right? And one of the biggest key factors is knowing what events are and knowing how to promote events, right? So let me kind of walk you through. So for those of you who are new, your first exposure to ACN, that's an event, right? Whether you are on a PBZ, whether you are live in a PBR, private business reception in someone's home or office, whether you were on the amazing Tuesday nights with Mr. Al Thomas, whatever event however you were exposed to the presentation of our business model, that is an event. And that's actually one of the first events how we get started. And so attending events isn't just the big one, because like Mr. Thomas just said, we have 6 months. So what are we going to do between now and in 6 months when we all go back to Orlando in March? We're going to attend different events. So PBZs, PBRs, those are private business receptions or private business Zooms specifically for you. Now, the design of that is to help you jumpstart your business. Now, how do you know what to do? Well, you attend a different event, which is a training event. And usually we do them on Saturdays. I know some marketplaces are doing them in the evenings and stuff on Zoom or maybe live and in person. But just make sure you attend a training event. Now, I want to talk with you. We're just going to call them Saturday trainings, okay? So I want to talk with you about the power of a Saturday training. So I'm going to give you, I like to storytell, as you guys know. So I'm going to give you my beginning journey of using Saturday trainings in order to have a fast jump start to building my business, which, by the way, I didn't have a fast jump start. My first month and a half didn't go as fast as I wanted it to, or everybody else wanted it to, until I went to my national event, my first international event. So, but here's the start of my journey. So I got a phone call on a Wednesday from my young cousin, Michael, who was recruiting me. The conversation was weird. So maybe next time I train, I'll train on that. That's how I came up with the saying. My one and only saying is, if you don't want it to be weird, don't be weird. We were having a normal cousin conversation, and then he shifted to, inviting me or whatever. And it was just weird, right? I could tell it was weird. Anyways, so by the time I saw the information, 3 weeks had gone by, and my entire family saw ACN, literally my entire family, and everybody had gotten started. And so here I am, I finally see the information, and I was kind of ornery about it because I didn't want to see what they were doing, because nobody would describe it to me, which was apparently what you're supposed to do, right? You're not supposed to you're not supposed to do little mini presentations when you're recruiting people. And so my entire family did a good job of not telling me the details of their new business they just started. So short version is, I showed up to my parents' house, and it was the third Sunday in a row that, they had all these people over and they were doing the business model and da da da. Da. But I kept showing up at the end because I was running a retail business that I owned, and that was my manager's day off. So I had to be in my place of business. But I'd roll in to get my kid, and it's all done, right? I'm saying hi to whoever. And my sister pulls me to the side and says, sit down and see the information. And I was like, nope, because I was being ornery. And she's like, sit down and see the information. My parents have this big, huge, they built this big, huge home. And it's one of those open concepts, right? Big, huge kitchen and big, huge living room. But all these people are in there. And I have a lot of energy. Well, so does my sister. And then when we have sister conversations, we really have a lot of energy. So we're in the kitchen. She backs me up to the counter and she literally gets in my face. She's like, sit down and see the information. And she starts talking quieter, right? And when you talk quieter, the energy tends to get bigger. So long story short, here's what she said to me as I'm like, nope. She's like, she literally got nose to nose. And I'm going to bleep me out a lot, I know, but she literally gets nose to nose and says, sit down and see that information. And I was all, nope. And she goes, you don't know what you're saying no to. And I was all, oh, well, I'll tell you I know what I'm saying no to. So I literally, fine. And I pushed her to the side and I turned and I yelled to my cousin, Michael, can I see your stupid little video? Right. And so we sit down on the couch and I'm all, right. And that's, you heard me say, I didn't know their names at the time, but Mr. Street was jogging, Mr. Lamontagne was jogging. And so that's what got me started. But that was an event. I kept seeing my family have people over and building their business. And I didn't know what was going on. But as soon as I saw the information, I was in, right? I was in. I bought one for me and my husband and asked if I could get one for my 5-year-old, right? So that was an event. It was a home meeting. It wasn't ideal, but okay, right? It was an event. So then I had said to my mentor at the time, my first mentor in ACN, Mrs. Renee Wagner, she was like, okay, well, I live, a couple hours away. But I tell you what, get a group of people together like your family's been doing. I'll come to your house and I'll present the business for you. And I was like, cool, right? So we scheduled it for, that was a Sunday. We scheduled it for Tuesday. And Monday, I walked my daughter to kindergarten, and I'm older than all the other moms. And so I'm standing outside of the classroom, recruiting, inviting people to my house the next morning and explaining to them the business model, which is funny because nobody explained it to me. So why did I think that I could go off and explain it, right? So as I'm recruiting these moms, I'm explaining it. And then I started making all my phone calls. So I was having a morning brunch for all my moms. And then I was doing an evening private business reception. And so the next morning, I think 2 moms came and I had a whole spread for breakfast. It didn't quite go the way I wanted it to, right? But that was an event. I learned from that event later when I realized what I did wrong. But then that night I had more people over, right? And so as more people come over, I'm having this big reception thing, right? Well, as we're talking to people after, one of my really good friends she wanted to do it, but she disclosed to me, she's like, I don't have the $500. It was $500 back then. And I was like, you know what, Judy, no worries. Like, we'll figure it out. Right. So we're like having this conversation. She's like, well, maybe I could borrow it for my children. Da, da, da. They're tired of me being in this bad financial situation. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it. And I was like, yay. And then ding dong. And I was like, pizza's here. Right. So I had ordered pizza and had it delivered. And so now there's all this pizza. And then when I walked my girlfriend Judy out, she's like, you know what, Keri, I love you. I just don't think I can do this. Well, later I figured out in my head when I started going to training, they're like, don't do a lot of food because you want this to be duplicatable and some people can't do that. And I was like, Judy, right? That's why Judy didn't do this, because she thought she had to buy $100 worth of pizza delivered as well. You don't. Pretzels and water, you guys. Chips and dip and red solo cups with a container of water, right? It doesn't have to be anything big, but that was an event. I did get a friend started, Mark. And so he saw the business, not through my presentation, right? But somebody else's. And so that was his first event. So what ended up happening was Mrs. Wagner said, there's a training in Sacramento on Saturday. And she actually, on her own, she wrote it all out, I typed it out and printed a bunch of flyers that she could hand out at my PBRs. And so I went that Saturday to Sacramento. So it's about an hour away from where I live. And you've all heard me say, I'm not really like a, hey, get up early kind of girl, right? So, but I got up early and I dressed business casual. I didn't really have any business clothes at that point. So business casual, drove my little happy tush down there. And I got there and the environment was like, wow, this is cool. But I didn't know anybody. So I kind of sat in the back, and I'm not shy, but when you don't know anybody, right, you get kind of shy. And so here I'm at this event because my family wasn't going to training, and my cousin who recruited me lives in the Bay Area. So he was going to the training in the Bay Area with Mrs. Wagner and all them. And so sitting there by myself, and I'm watching this, the edification. I didn't know what that meant, but I'm watching them talk nicely about each other, and I'm listening to the training, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is a simple business. I can totally do this, right? And it seemed so simple. And they just went over all the topics we go over. And this is my first Saturday training. And I thought, I can totally do this, right? So the next week, more PBRs, more exposures, blah, blah, blah. Well, the next week, I told my first business partner, Mark, you have to come with me to training. Mark and I went to school together. We grew up together, okay? And Mark wasn't exactly the most studious person in high school, but and he knows that. I've said this story 100 times, okay, or more. So anyway, so Mark and I go down to the training, but this time I figure it out. Sit in the front row, because that's where you hear, like, you can hear everything, you can feel it, you can do all that, right? So Mark and I sit in the front row, and again, I still don't know anybody but Mark. And so we're sitting there, and this time I brought a notepad and pen. And as we're sitting there, the whole thing starts. And as they're going over each training topic again, I'm thinking to myself, huh, they said this last week. Interesting. And Mark leans over to me and says, oh my God, Kara, we're going to be rich. And I'm like, shh, pay attention. Like, you got to hear this, right? You have to focus on what they're saying. So we go through the training, yay. We have more PBRs. And so that week I got my second business partner started, a girlfriend of mine by the name of Chandra. So now I'm telling everybody, you have to come to this training. It's absolutely amazing. So my third training, Saturday training, I had Mark on one side and I had Chandra on the other side. And as they start the event, they're saying the same thing they said the previous two trainings. And guess what happened? Light bulb, right? Light bulb. Mark leans over and goes, they said this last week. I'm like, shh, pay attention. Chandra leans over and says, oh my God, this is so simple. We're going to be rich. And I'm like, the training is not for me, but it is for me. I'm going to tell you why it was for me. But I'm realizing Mark needing to hear me too, but Mark needing to hear the same information again, right? So we can duplicate it. Remember, I told you, Mr. Michael Mazur told me that people only hear 7% of what we say. That's why we have to say the same thing over and over again, so that people can eventually capture the whole 100%. But that realization happened. And then as I was watching Chandra light up with excitement, I was like, oh, okay. So it's for the newest person to hear the information. And I was hearing it for the third time. It wasn't boring because she was so excited. It wasn't boring because I realized the training event is for the newest person, but it was also for me. And here's why. By show of hand, many of you have your cameras on. By show of hand, how many of you want to be a leader and find a massive amount of success by helping other people be successful? How many of you? Okay, yay, pretty much everybody. Cool. My third event, here's what I realized. They're saying the same thing over and over and over again in each topic. Even if it was a different person training the topic, they were basically saying the same thing with their own personality spin. But it dawned on me, in order for me to help other people be successful, I need to know what to do. So I need to come to training every Saturday to hear what it is we do in order to help people find success. So I realized, in order for me to get to where I want to go, I have to find the level of success that I'm invited up on that stage with the clicker and to train. It was a huge aha moment for me. But how did that aha moment happen? I went to, well, the whole meeting stuff, but I went to the first Saturday training. Wow, I was inspired. I can totally do this. Went to the second Saturday training, realized they were duplicating, and Mark was excited. Went to the third Saturday training. 3 Saturdays in a row, I went to Saturday morning trainings, an hour away from where I live. and sacrifice precious time to one, we didn't have any family time, but any quality of family time I would have had on that Saturday, gone because I'm building this business. And secondly, I owned a retail business and I was always there on my retail business, right? So I had to sacrifice my time in order to figure out how to build this ACN business. See, one of the things that attending training events, the power of events, is when you attend things consistently over a long enough period of time, at some point, something is going to happen. Something's going to click. Remember, I told you guys about Monty, right? The guy who was stuck in ETL. He went to Dallas Elevate, relaunched his business. I talked about that last week. He had been consistently going. So even though aha moments happen at events, a Saturday morning training in Sacramento, I had a huge aha moment, huge aha moment. So when Mr. Provenzano says we provide hope and opportunity and the environment to win, those leaders were providing the environment because they were consistently training and saying the same exact things every single week in every single topic so that I could learn. And then what ended up happening was I realized that the training events were for the new people. So every PBR we did, we didn't do Zooms back then, every PBR we did, I made my own flyer promote that had the details of where we were going on Saturday, what time to get there and all that. Every single PBR we did, I was telling people. Before Mr. Kupich trained me, don't convince people to get started, convince them to go to training. I was standing in living rooms saying, come with us Saturday. They're amazing. I was edifying these leaders who I didn't know and they didn't know me. And I'm sure I fumbled my way through it, but it was exciting enough that people started coming with us to Saturday trainings. And so now I went from, alarm goes off, I'm like, ugh, to waking up before the alarm because I knew there was going to be an army of people going with me to Saturday training so they could learn and then I could learn what to say because eventually I wanted to be on the stage. It's not that I wanted to be on the stage, it's that I understood in order to get where I financially wanted to go, I needed to become a leader and learn this information and then eventually you'd be invited on the stage, right? Which is what happened. So the power of attending events is you never know when you never know when somebody in your team or somebody you're supporting and encouraging is going to have that aha event or moment. But if you're not at the event, you won't have the aha moment. If you're not at the event, you won't have the realization like Monty did that you can relaunch your business. You can absolutely relaunch your business. So how many of you would agree that an Olympic athlete who has a gold medal didn't just stumble upon it and didn't just in the manifestation of what, so Michael Phelps, right? Michael Phelps. Wouldn't you agree that he probably, I'm sure he visualized, winning the gold medal and that he manifested it, but then he was in the water like every day, all day. He actually put forth the effort to get the results of what it is he did. I went to high school with somebody, or actually grew up with somebody who has a gold medal. She has a gold medal in pole vaulting. You guys, she didn't get that gold medal because she inconsistently worked out. She inconsistently, would go and I mean, she did the pole. Like that's crazy, right? Could you imagine doing that? She was consistent in her effort daily. She put forth the effort, but guess what? They also had coaches and they also listened to their coaches and followed their coaches' advice, which is what training events, part of what training events are for. So we have direct coaches and indirect coaches, meaning you attend a training event and all of the leaders who are training you become a coach to you. That's the power of events. We say the same thing, but when you hear it in a personality style type that you mash with, meet up with, right? So Douglas and I joke about this all the time. Love you, Douglas. He's an urchin. It is my least, we have 4 personality types. Urchin is my least personality type, right? I don't care the details of the gigawatts. Like, I don't care. So when I'm up there training, saying something, I might not fit an urchin. But then when Douglas is up there training and saying the same thing that I said the previous week in that topic, an urchin in the crowd's going to go, oh, wow, that's brilliant. Like, okay, I said it last week, right? But so we end up indirectly having multiple coaches that are indirect to us. And then we can go and take that information and work directly with our mentors, our coaches, to then apply the information that we're learning. So by attending events regularly, you don't have to attend an event. You're an independent business owner. Plenty of people don't attend events, trainings, right? Are they having the level of success they desire? I'm going to guess not. I might be wrong, but I'm going to guess not. Because if you don't know how to accurately build ACN, then you don't know what to do and you can't then turn around and teach it to others. So Saturday trainings, being consistent in Saturday trainings is really important. So like in our organization, in the Empire organization, we have every Saturday morning, we have a training on Zoom. But the Northern California leaders, we decided to go back to in-person. So every other Saturday, this Saturday actually, we have an in-person event. And it's going to be powerful. It's going to be small, but that's okay. It's going to be powerful because we're going to build off of that. So then from Saturday training events, we have bigger regional events. And that's where you take a region and we fly in a leader or two, and then everybody drives to that area like we've done in Fresno, right? And everybody drives to that area and we get to be trained on a larger schedule. It's a longer event than the 2 hours, but that's where the training comes in. We get to, again, have an indirect coach because they're training on stage and providing us information. Probably same exact thing that your coach and mentor says, but you're hearing it from somebody else. It's kind of like if you're a parent, right? And you teach your children a concept, and then they go to school one day. It's happened to me like so many times. My daughter would come home and say, "Oh my gosh, Mama, Mrs. So-and-so said da, 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 da." And I'm thinking, hey, well, I say that to you all the time. But if you're hearing it differently from your teacher, and now you're going to apply that, that moral, that value or whatever, okay, cool. I don't need credit, right? I just need you to know the information. So power of attending events is you never know when you're going to have an aha moment. You never know when somebody in your team's going to have an aha moment. And you're learning the information to become a leader to then duplicate what is being said when you have the opportunity to be a trainer in those moments. So I'm gonna wrap it up today, and I will tell you next week. Be prepared. It's quite the story, okay? And you will have to bleep me out. I apologize in advance, right? But the power of attending events consistently is why 15 and a half years later, I am still here, and I'm excited to share that with you. Sorry, I'm excited to share that with you. And like I told you, I hope that when you hear my story about my first international event, that you're able to glean. I storytell, so I hope you're able to glean information out of it and then apply it in encouraging other people to go with us to every international event.